Hello everybody and welcome to the first video in our series of videos on the Industrial Revolution. This video is called Great Promise and Great Peril. As always, we begin with our learning outcomes, so by the end of this presentation you guys should know what the Industrial Revolution is and when and where it took place. Second, you guys should know the 7 factors that led to the Industrial Revolution taking place in Britain. And finally, you guys should be able to name 2 inventions and the inventors who revolutionized the textile industry. So first we will look at what exactly the Industrial Revolution was, we'll look at when it was, then we'll look at why it took place in Britain, and then finally we will look at some of the early inventions and how they impacted on the textile industry. The Industrial Revolution isn't a revolution like the American or French Revolution, which were mostly political revolutions. The Industrial Revolution was a complete social revolution. It massively changed society, and the world that we live in today is now primarily the way it is because of the Industrial Revolution. It is difficult to define, but ultimately the Industrial Revolution was when society changed from an agrarian society. So by agrarian society, what we mean is that most people lived in a rural setting and they made their living from the agriculture. It changed from this agrarian society into a more industrialized and urban society. Now, the time period that we are looking at here, generally what we give for the Industrial Revolution, is from 1750 to 1850. There was a massive change in what society looked like during this time period. And the place most associated with the Industrial Revolution is Britain. So, why did it happen in Britain? One of the first reasons that we can give for it is that one of the most important inventions of the Industrial Revolution was the steam engine. We'll be looking at that in a later video. But the reason that this was so significant is that Britain had huge amounts of easily accessible coal, which could power these steam engines, making their use more profitable in Britain. Also, a second reason as to why it happened in Britain is that at this time there was massive improvement in farming methods. This time is known as the agricultural revolution, and this meant that more food could be produced, and it could be produced by fewer people. It needed less workforce. This in turn, with the food that was being produced, it could feed a bigger population, and this rise in population meant that there was a workforce that could carry out the Industrial Revolution. So the agricultural revolution and the calorie-rich food that was brought over thanks to the Columbian Exchange, as well as a better climate. There had been a mini ice age up until the 1700s. This meant there was a greater population, like I said, to carry out the work that was needed to drive on this Industrial Revolution. The next thing that was very important was that Britain was the biggest trading power in the world. They had recently won a series of wars against the Dutch and came to rule the financial and trading industries in the 18th century. London became one of the biggest cities in Europe at the time. Another reason that they really launched into trading was that they expanded their colonies and they wanted to tap into the riches that were coming out of South America. The reason they wanted to tap into the riches coming out of South America, they wanted to get a share of these riches so that they could trade with Asia for goods that weren't produced in Britain that were really valued, stuff like porcelain from China and cloth from India. And the Asians, as we remember from our Age of Exploration videos, they weren't interested in any products that the Europeans were producing. They only wanted money. So Britain decided that they were going to go out and get this money through trading and through setting up financial institutions. And it was the profits from the trading and from England's large banks allowed investment into new factories, which really spurred on the Industrial Revolution. The fifth factor we talk about is the British government. The British government were crucial in helping the Industrial Revolution happen there, in that they put large tariffs or taxes on imports to protect local businesses. As we saw in the American Revolution and the 1798 rebellion, the colonies were not getting a good deal when it came to trade. And this was part of the British government policy to protect local industries. This allowed the local businesses in Britain to thrive. Um, Another one, and we'll be looking at this in more detail, that was a big thing, was that inventions were happening in Britain that really drove things along. There was many manufacturing inventions that we'll be looking at the end of this video and in later videos. And finally, the transport revolution, really fueled by the steam engine, made conditions in Britain ideal for an industrial revolution to take place. So one of the first inventions of the Industrial Revolution actually happened before 1750, and this was the Flying Shuttle, and it was invented by John Kay around 1733. It allowed a weaver to double the amount of cloth that could be weaved by one person, therefore bringing up production efficiency. This was improved upon with the invention of the spinning jenny by a man called James Hargreaves in 1764. Again, this made the production of cloth products and wool products an awful lot faster, more efficient, more effective, and more productive. These two inventions revolutionized the textile industry. By textile industry, what we mean is the industry that is concerned with production of yarn and cloth and the making of clothes to be sold. That is what the textile industry is known as. So these inventions forced further industrialization in the mills which were producing these clothes, which then could be sold into the British colonies. Profits could come in and more investments could then come back into Britain. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. So now, by now you guys should know what the Industrial Revolution is, when and where it took place. You guys should know the 7 factors that led to the Industrial Revolution taking place in Britain. And finally, you guys should be able to name 2 inventions and the inventors who revolutionized the textile industry. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys got something good from this video.